Alright, hello everyone. So I've decided to take a new direction on the channel as something needs to change with my focus, basically, on how I'm playing the game. It's come to my attention, although I've known this for quite some time, that I'm not making big improvements on each of the classes that I play because I keep changing my classes every 5 minutes. This has almost become a joke on the channel, but I really do need to commit to something. Because I've been told this by numerous really good players, and it's always the same theme. They're like, well, you keep changing every time you get good, you start to make improvements, you switch it to something else. So I really need to trust that. I mean, I know it's true, so I need to trust their opinion. I know that they're right. I do have a really bad habit of either just, well, I guess I just get bored and then I quit and start doing something else, or yeah, I don't know why, but whenever I start to make progress, all of a sudden I find a reason to play another class. But it's gonna stop today. So I've played the mage. It's gonna sound silly now that I've just said that. I played the mage, and it does seem a little one-dimensional to Bruiser. I was so looking forward to playing the mage because it was like, I've always played mages, so I was really looking forward to playing mage. And then I played it, and it just seemed a little boring. Like I wasn't really a part of the... Felt like almost like an outside to the war a little bit. Didn't feel like I was in the clump fighting, which is weird because I used to really like not being in the clump and that. But I guess playing the Bruiser has changed my attitudes a little bit. So even though the Bruiser is the class that I think I'm probably the worst at, it's the one that I want to conquer. It's my Mount Everest, you know? So, it's epic in wars. It can be brutal in OPR if you've got like a healer and a team with you. It can be really good in arenas, but mainly, as I just said, it's just a super fun class to play if you like fighting in the middle of clumps, and just riding the Zerg and just hitting a whole bunch of people and having people hit you. It's I really like that. I never used to like it, which is why I thought Mage would be better, but yeah, no, I really do miss that about Bruiser. So that's the class I have chosen to make my commitment to, my vows of you are my one. So, in terms of the Bruiser, and I'm going to be honest with how I am, I think if I was to judge myself in each of the areas of the game, I would rank myself as in duels as average. That's probably the only one I'm in duels I'm average, I think. In arena I'm bad. I haven't done many arenas, so I don't feel bad. Don't feel bad saying that. But in arenas, bad. A bad experience when I go in, especially on a Bruiser. In OPR, I'd say I'm average. This is the only one that maybe I'm being a little hard on myself, but I'm going to say I'm average. I feel like I could do a lot better. And in wars, I'm bad. Not in the top half of the table. I'm not doing that well. I'm a very team objective person. But yeah, I can do way better in wars, and I think that is the end goal. That is the pinnacle of Mount Everest that we're getting to. That's where we want to be. Okay, that's when we know we've made it. So I really do need to commit to really move the dial and improve on a class. I think I want that. Well, I don't think I want that class to be Bruiser. And if I don't commit, like if I'm going to commit to this is going to happen. I'm not going to play another class. If I do, I hereby swear that I'll delete my character, and that'll be it. Okay, so I am committing. So to start with, I've asked my current guild that I'm in to bench me, and so I'll be like a reserve person, but I've asked them to take me out of wars, because I want to focus on getting the basics right. I've come up with like a pathway of improvement. There's also an opportunity for me to potentially join another guild, which is a lot more active. The current guild I'm in are kind of quite heavy warloggers, so that could be quite good to have some people to play with. But either way, that's not my focus right now. I don't really care where I'm at, because I've come up with this pathway where I think it makes sense in order to slowly start moving that dial and making improvements. And it's kind of a bottom-up approach. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to focus on getting really good in duels. So the reason I do this is because dueling and fighting one opponent allows you to learn the most basic fundamentals in the game when you're fighting. So if you can't read your opponent, if you can't dodge and avoid stuns, if you can't get your combos off correctly to get a lot of burst damage, you're never going to kill anyone and you're just going to die. And this is going to bite you in Arena, this is going to bite you in OPR, and it's going to bite you in Wars, because you need to be able to do all of those things at the most fundamental level to be able to do well in any of those other things. So this is where we need to start, this is where we need to get good at. So this is what I will be focusing on. I'm going to spend all my time dueling on my Bruiser until I can say I'm one of the best out there. Not the best, but one of them. And I won't be the judge, I'll let you guys be the judge. So you can leave comments on how I play, I won't be upset, I'll be upfront and honest and show my losses and my wins, and I'm going to show the ratios. So every time I duel people, I'm going to say I won this much, I lost this much, so I can sort of say, here's my weaknesses with certain classes. And obviously there's going to be some classes going to be tough like mages, so it's going to be, you know, we're going to be a little bit subjective to that kind of stuff. But I want to be one of the best bruisers there is. I will give regular updates as to my progression, so I'd say I'll probably be doing a video every few days, if I can. And today is day 1. After this, I'm going to get on and just start dueling. I may scatter in arenas, OPRs, and wars, because there's still the opportunity of doing them. Because I'm on the bench, but I'm a reserve, right? So if they need a bruiser, I'm going to go in. So it'll give me an opportunity to sort of say, like, improvements I can see that are happening in arenas, OPRs, and wars, but really my focus is going to be on dueling. And I'm really mainly thinking about that, the high win-loss ratio, right? Especially against other bruisers. So I want to be winning far more than I'm losing. So, and what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to start dueling with just bruisers, and then I'll start to span out to like other melee and ranged and all that kind of stuff. So once I've done dueling, I'm then going to start to work on arenas. I'm going to bring in arenas. The next step after, so that'll be the next step. I think arenas is a really, really good next step, because arenas allows you to take those basic fundamentals that you've learned in dueling and then apply them to a small scale, right? So all those things you've learned about bursting people down, dodging stuns, now you're going to be doing it against like a maximum of 3 people. But what I like about it is that with Arena, it's very controlled. You're never going to suddenly get 3 bow players appear out of nowhere and start shooting at you when you're already fighting 2 people, or you're not going to have like a big Zerg run over you. So it's sort of like stepping up that dueling into a potentially a 1v3 or a 1v2 situation where you're going to have to fight multiple people, but it's controlled in the way that you're not going to have suddenly get swamped, you know, and it becomes completely unfair. So it really allows me to use that same dueling mentality but scale it up to multiple opponents and have to sort of think, you know, like what more than one person are doing, which I think is really good. And that's obviously that small scale stuff is obviously really, really, really going to help when I move into OPRs and wars. I think I will judge myself a little bit off the same way I've done with dueling, but also we can use the leaderboards. So I guess once I see myself perform good in arenas, we can move on. But again, I'm gonna really bring you guys in as the as you know. Hopefully, I'm gonna try to get you guys to leave lots of comments and tell me what you're thinking, and you know, and I'll just try to sort of take in the information. So if you're like, it's time to move on, man, you're doing really good, then and once I hear enough of those comments, then I'll step it up. You know, but I need to feel like that's the right time to move in my soul. You know what I mean? So once we've got the duels in the arenas down, we should be pretty good at fucking smashing people, like a few people at a time. So now we want to bring that into OPRs. Now OPRs, for whatever they are, they're the best training sim we have for wars, right? And they're the best training we have to fight on a big scale. You can't just do wars back to back all the time. You can only do wars when they're available and when you've been picked. So I appreciate that OPRs are a bit of a clusterfuck. And you have way more range than you ever would have in a war, like with bows and mages. But despite this, you can learn some pretty good fundamentals that you can take into wars. You can go in as a bruiser. I can go in with some guildmates, and then we can work together as a team and crack some skulls, right? So I like this because by now I should have some solid fundamentals to be able to fight multiple opponents, and I should be able to win 1v1 fights. And because of all this will be like second nature, I'll then be able to focus on the other bruiser things that you need to think about in wars and OPRs, like positioning on the battlefield and where to pick fights and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's going to allow me to focus on that because my fundamentals are going to be rock solid. It'll also allow me to work on teamwork. So if I'm going to queue up with other people, we'll be able to like time our bombs and our detonates to make sure they go off at the same time. So it's going to be improving all those skills that are going to be able to transfer over to wars, get me good. So once I see myself topping the scoreboards here, obviously maybe not number 1, but up top 5 on the regular, then and getting lots and lots of kills. Then I think I will be like, okay, it's time to move on to the final step, which is the pinnacle of my Mount Everest, wars. I will still be trying to do some wars, and while I do all these steps, I just want to say, because I don't want to like lose any progress I have made, and I want to keep being warmed up and stuff. So, did I say warmed up or warmed up? Anyway, so while I do the above, I will be trying to get into wars, but it's not going to be my focus. But obviously once we step into wars, then that will become 100% our focus. So once I've done the above, I'll fully commit to becoming the best bruiser in wars I can be, which I'm definitely not at this stage. And by this stage, I should have strong fundamentals. I should be good at bursting people down and not getting stunned. I should be able to take on multiple opponents at a time and be able to deal with it. And I should have been able to work on my strong teamwork and communication, which I would have learned in the OPRs. And so then I'll just need to work on war things and keep improving on that as much as possible until I'm regularly, and then I'll know that I've reached my goal when I'm regularly appearing in the top 10 in wars. And once that's happening, that's when I can say I've achieved my goal. Then I can go play another class if I want to, but I hopefully don't. So, now, yeah, as I said, I'm not going to change my class, but if I do, I'm not going to let myself. If I do, I hereby state that if you ever see me on another class in the game, I'm deleting my character. Just call me out on it, and I'll delete my character. So, let's go, get your criticism hats on, be prepared to judge, be prepared to join me on my journey. Day 1 starts now. Let's become that Beast Bruiser that I've always wanted to be. Cheers, guys.